Greetings, I'm Barrent, and welcome to Meet Me at the Table. We are going to continue our playthrough of Myth, and we are continuing the Stone of Life. We completed the first act, and now we're moving on to the second act. A many-legged question. This is going to be the second act in the Stone of Life. Now, before we get to this act, I, in the last video, had you give me some ideas of what we should buy for our characters coming up. So with that, I've got them all right here. If you remember, the merchants were selling these items. One was a short sword, one was a dagger, dark crystal, longbow, quiver, and leather armor. Now, from some of the comments I got, I have some really great suggestions. We're probably going to get a lot of this stuff for the archer, and maybe a few things for some of the other characters. The first thing I want to... What's that? Well, never mind. Well, okay, I gotta go see what that is. I'll be right back. Who in the heck is at the door? Did I forget to put the Do Not Disturb sign up when I'm going to record these videos? Oh, I can't believe it. Well, at any rate, let's see who the heck it is. Greetings. It is I, Alex the Swordsman. Oh my gosh, you've got a sword! Well, of course I have a sword. I am a swordsman. Actually, I'm a pupil. I am working to be a swordsman. My master says in order to be a swordsman, I must battle the darkness some more. And I also must enlist some comrades and learn to work together as a team. With that being said, I would like to join your force. Join us? How do you even know who we are? Well, I happened to see your band of adventurers up on top of a mountain. I was meditating. And after I meditated, I heard the ground shake, and I decided to go down and see what was going on. But by the time I got to the city, it had been covered in webs. So you were on top of the hill, and you came down, but you didn't get there in time? I wish I could have gotten there sooner, and I could have helped the brave adventurers. Wait a minute, weren't you just wearing white? What you mean? I've always been wearing black. It's your perception. Perception is the eye to the soul, and apparently you do not have very good reception. I've been wearing black the whole time. Okay. Yes, I traveled down. When I got there, it was covered in webs. I saw the brave adventurers fighting the arachnid-looking thing, and I wish I could have helped. I chopped through the webs and spiders as fast as I could, but I could not get to them. So you saw them fighting the arachnid thing? I was just in time to see the Stone of Life come out, and I thought, wait a minute, now you've got a headband on. What do you mean? I have always had this headband. Again, you must work on your perception, young man. Otherwise you will never make it in this world. So I saw it returning to the Stone of Life, and I thought I should join these adventurers, and maybe then I can become a master blader. A master blader? That's right, a master blader, a master of the blade. I hope to be a master blader sometime. Sure, whatever. Will you allow me to join your force? That way I can fight the darkness, have some comrades, and I can slash and slash the darkness. You want to join the party? Sure. Come on in, it'll be a blast. Thank you. You will not regret this decision. How could I possibly regret this decision? Well, all right. I guess we have a new person joining us. So we do have, I guess, Alex, our swordsman, is going to join us. Here's Alex. He's hanging out. Got him right here. He's got his magic sword, I guess. Now, he's a swordsman, and he only uses swords. Now, I'm going to have to explain a little bit about this character. And I'll tell you right now, I don't know everything about him, but I am going to do my very best to make sure I get everything about him right. If I do anything wrong with him, or if there's a question exactly how it works, please leave any rule questions or discrepancies in the comments below so we can have a discussion about it. And maybe we'll all get this guy right if we work together. So this is his card that tells us exactly how he works. He's technically the pupil, but I call him the swordsman. His main deal is that he uses katas. I believe I'm pronouncing that right. If I'm not, tell me below. He also uses swords. So, according to his card, it does say that the pupil is governed by the sword kata. Katas
have two natures, the sword's movement and the hero's movement. The sword's movement is conveyed with an angle from the kata diagrams, such as these over here. Attack cards have a line that shows the sword's attack plane. Attacks may be played if the sword is sheathed or the attack is in the opposite direction of the previous attack. So it's a little confusing. Hopefully we can get this right. Attacks that come from adjacent attack planes receive the kata bonus, which is plus 1d10 to attacks. The kata bonus stacks until the sword is sheathed or broken by an attack in the opposite direction. The pupil's movement is explained with diagrams on the card. The movement must be performed to play the attack card. And technically, according to the bottom here, the pupil can only use swords. So any items, art, and name, use the art and name to determine it. So it's kind of subjective in a way, but I think we can kind of figure out what a sword is, I hope. If the weapon is a sword, if he uses a two-handed sword, he receives an extra d10 and an extra fate dice to all attacks. Though this is his kind of rule card. I also want to go through some of his card deck that he has. But before we do that, before I rudely interrupt by Alex the swordsman here, let's go over what we're going to buy. Now, I figure Karen the archer should probably get the longbow and quiver. That's kind of a given. So we're going to give her those. This dark crystal we're going to buy, and we're going to buy it for our acolyte. Ben needs that. This sword, I wasn't originally going to buy this, but now that Alex has joined the fight, I think we should get this sword for Alex. So we're going to get that sword. And then the last thing we're going to get is leather armor. Now this one's kind of a mystery. I don't know who to give it to. I think we're either going to give it to Alex or we're going to give it to Brian, the outsider. I'm not exactly sure which one. So if you guys have an idea of who you think we should give this to and why, please leave that in the comments below too. That would be great. So with that being said, all these total up to, they're all 4. They all cost 4. So to buy all of these, it's going to cost us 20. So we're going to have to pay 20 for this. And that is leaving us with only 10 bucks. Now what we could buy with the 10 bucks, we could buy this dagger. But the dagger, if you look at it, you do not lose shadows, and you use 1d10 and 2 fate dice. I don't see a need for this. We don't use shadows. And technically right now, our outsiders seem to be doing pretty good with Talon, which I know is also still not technically his, but he does get 2d10 and 2 fate dice, which is really good. And he does still get to do the bleeding for each guile result in, bleeding damage over time on one hit enemy. Each guile result adds +1 hero cycle to the duration. So that still technically fires even if he's not the character it was originally designed for. So we've got these two that I think are going to go back with the merchant. So it'd be nice to have a nice blue item, but it is really technically for the swordsman class, and we don't really have the swordsman playing right now. So, or it's not swordsman. Wow, that was fantastic. I mean the soldier class. Wow, that was a total slip. The soldier class technically uses the bulwark due to the fact that it actually can be you can use it to attack, and it also gives you rage. And the shield attacks do deal 1 damage, and a lot of those are found in the soldier deck. It does get the person who holds it though gets +2 defense, which isn't bad. You could give this to somebody just to get the +2 defense, but it's a lot of money. It's 11 bucks just to have that. So we're going to give these up. We're going to give them back to the merchant, and we're going to call it a day. So as we stand, we bought these things. We're going to give these two to our wonderful archer, this to our priest, this to our swordsman. I'm going to have you guys tell me which to give this to. I'm leaning towards Brian, the outsider, but we'll see. And then this is what Brian originally was using, so we're going to have him continue to use that. And that's that. That's the merchant. All right, now on to this crazy guy named Alex. Okay, for those of you that don't own the Dark Frontier game by Myth, it does come with a rule set that helps us understand how the pupil works in Myth. I don't really want to read this verbatim, but he's such a difficult character to me. I'm not exactly sure how he all works, that I'd like to kind of go through it with you. And I'm going to do a little bit of condensing it, but I'm going to try to read as much of it as I can. Like, for example, I'm not going to read his backstory. If you're interested in his backstory, let me know. I have no problem just stopping the video. You know, just for the heck of it, I'm going to leave it right here and let you guys read his backstory. If you want to pause the video, go right ahead. All right. So according to his thing, he uses the nature fate symbol. He does get 6 vitality, and he does have a courage of 6. He starts with the D10 and a 1 fate dice, just like everybody. His starting gear, I have it. It is his wooden sword, which sadly was bent in my copy, but that's okay. And it does 2d10. And when he gets the fate, his fate dice recipe, his threat attack, the -1 threat after the attack. That's very similar to a lot of people's starting gear. His other starting gear is his sash. So he gets this sash, and I can reroll 1d10 in an attack that receives a kata bonus. So if I'm not getting a bonus, I don't get to get the reroll. But, you know, this should help, I hope. We shall see how this goes. Like I said, I could butcher this guy into next week, or I could play him perfectly right. We shall see. So it says here, playing the pupil. So the pupil is not a balanced hero. Nothing about him is neutral. The pupil uses swords only. He is a melee-centric character. The pupil has the ability to take down many targets at once. He may be the best area of effect melee character. He has many cards that attack multiple targets, and his ability to carry overwhelming number of attack dice into the attack allows him to easily hit multiple monster types. However, these attacks tend to move him farther and farther from the relative safety of other heroes. The pupil can easily find himself surrounded by foes and far from friends. Lucky he's equipped to deal with this. All right. So we continue, and the pupil is governed by a sword kata. And I kind of read a little bit about how that works. So we've read a little bit about that. The pupil's support cards are strangely effective given the right circumstances. He has several powerful interrupt cards that make the pupil active in the hero cycle and darkness cycle. So that's great. Now he does have attack and movement rules here. And it says his movement and being able to move is very important to the pupil. Movement is conveyed through abilities, description, text, or other movement diagrams on his ability cards. The movement of the attack is required. It must be performed to play the attack card. So if I can't perform the move, I can't do the attack. It makes sense. The description movement is usually in one direction and uses the dash keyword, seen in other heroes. Simply move the number of squares required in the direction stated on the card. The attack with movement diagrams is a bit trickier. The pupil must move to the squares with the black outline. If there is a monster present in the square he moves to, he must attack that target. If there is no monster present, he may attack one of the adjacent squares. Diagonal slash. This movement diagram requires the pupil to move diagonally, forward to the left, then diagonally forward to the right. There are 4 potential targets of this attack. That makes sense. So if there is a monster in this square here, I would have to attack it. But if there is no monster here, I could choose to maybe attack the one here, or I could attack, well, if there wasn't one here, I wouldn't be attacking it now, would I? I would have to attack it, I should say. So that's kind of what they're saying here. Now, sunset slash, the movement diagram requires the pupil to move diagonally forward to the right, then diagonally forward to the left, and then finally orthogonally to the left. There are 5 potential targets, and again, if any of these are occupied by a monster, he has to fight that he has to actually target that monster. Otherwise, he could target outside of his area if that's the case. So that's the front of the card. Yeah, I know, just the front. Now he got the back. Whoa, what do you know? More stuff. So it does talk about the swords. We already went over that. We kind of went over the katas, but this actually goes into more detail. So I'd like to read through this just so everybody kind of has an idea of what's going on. So it flows through the kata. We already kind of went through that. And the katas represent the plane of the attack. Let's see here. It also says that it has to be, the sword is sheathed before the card is played. The attack is coming back along the same plane as the previous attack. I didn't read that right. Attacks may be played if the sword is sheathed before the card is played. The attack is coming back along the same plane as the previous attack, or the attack is using an adjacent attack plane. Each attack that uses the adjacent attack plane as the previous attack receives the kata bonus. The kata bonus is an additional d10 to attacks and stacks. So we kind of went through that. And it continues to stack as long as I'm able to do that. And it will eventually become overwhelming, it says. So the attacks that are not the same or adjacent attack plane as the previous attack cannot be played unless the pupil sheathes his sword. This allows him to start a new attack string and play attacks in hand that may not be able to be played. The kata bonus is awarded based off the attacks only. The kata bonus and the potential to earn kata bonus carries over from cycle to cycle until it is reset by sheathing the sword, or the realm tile is clear. Clearing the realm tile will automatically sheathe the pupil's sword. That kind of makes sense. So here's some of the diagrams that we're going to see on some of those cards. So the kata diagram is supported through the names given in the pupil's attack. Cuts are vertical attacks, slices are horizontal, and slashes are diagonal. So for example, here's one type. This is plus diagonal, plus horizontal. So if I can play all those in a row, I eventually build stuff up. So I start here, +1 diagonal slash, I get +1 d10. But I didn't really change the path, so I still only get the +1 d10. And then it looks like I go to the horizontal slash. Now I'm getting a +2. Like I said, this guy kind of confused me, because here again I'm going up and down. That's going to start the kata. Then I'm diagonal, so I get +1. I'm doing horizontal slice, so I get +2. But now I'm back to +1 because I went back to the diagonal slash that's over here. I hope this is making some sense to you guys. Once this guy gets on the board and we start playing with him, I think hopefully it'll make a little bit more sense. I've tried out a couple things with him, and I think I kind of got him, but I just wanted to go through these things with you. I know it's not exactly quick, but it really helps, I think. So here are some of his card synergies, and I'll play him without reading them just to kind of show you how this works. But one of them is drawing the blade plus any cut and slice. Basically what's happening is the drawing the blade you'll see. I'll just show you the cards. Let's see here. We'll show you drawing the blade. It's in here. Here it is. And so this card states that's an attack melee, and it does 1 damage, it's range 1. And the attack one target within range. This begins a kata, and any directional attack may be used after this attack. That's why it's saying I can use any of my other ones, such as vertical cut, horizontal slice, or diagonal slash. And as you see, I have multiples of these in this deck. So there's a good chance you're going to see a lot of these. There are some stuff used during the darkness, so we're going to go through a lot of these cards. Actually, we're probably going to go through every one of these cards, because technically I have not found a video on this guy. I have not found out how to play this guy yet. I know MegaCon Games hasn't done one, so I don't really have much knowledge of seeing others use this character. So I'm kind of coming out of the gate just kind of a little blind and just going with what I got. So let's go through some of the actual attacks that he has. His first one is vertical cut, and this one is attack range 1 damage 2. So this really automatically starts by doing 2, which isn't too bad. It is 2 AP to do 2 damage. And it says attack dash 1. So when the dash 1's there, that does mean that he's going to have to move 1. Well, actually, I'll get to it. It says attack 1 target within range, then must move forward or backward 1 square. So after I make this attack, I do have to move forward or backward 1, or technically I cannot play this card. So if there's 2 monsters here, never mind, that doesn't make any sense, because I'd kill this monster and move forward. So if I actually can't move in either direction, like say there's 2 rocks here, I guess. If that's the case, I wouldn't be playing vertical cut. So all of those made no sense of me saying. All right, let's go to horizontal slash. And this is attack dash 2. So this one attacks all targets in a 2 square diagonal line. If this attack receives the kata bonus, then the attack only costs 1 AP. So he's going to dash 2, and his attack is going to move in these 2 directions. So it's going to be a horizontal slice. So it's going to attack 2 characters basically straight ahead. And then he does have to dash 2. That's kind of the deal. At least I'm hoping I'm getting this right. I think that's the deal. Now this one, if you see, it has that weird movement symbol. So he's going to have to move. I know I don't have a board down. It would be a lot better if I actually had a board. That would have been a lot more smart. But this one, he's going to have to take these 2 diagonal steps. And if there is a target there, I have to target that character in order to move through. But this one, it says you move as shown and attack 2 targets. Each target gains the damage over time, which deals 1 bleed damage for 1 refresh phase. So technically it's kind of doing 2 damage, but it just takes an extra round. So those are a lot of his primary attack cards that he has. And here's some of his Darkness Cycle cards. He's got Skewer. I think we've seen this in another person's deck. It's a counterattack with melee, and basically if I can parry an attack, then I can immediately play this card immediately after ignoring an enemy attack with the parry to attack that enemy. So if I parry a guy, I can attack him. Here's a basic attack card, nothing different about it. We do have a couple. We have a Now You See Me, which ignores an enemy attack. And this one is that parry card, so I've got a couple of them in my deck. Then here's that Drawing the Blade. So this one allows me to attack 1 target within range. The attack begins the kata, and any directional attack may be used after this attack. So if I were to use Drawing the Blade, and then let's say an attack like a guy over here, and then I decide to use my Vertical Cut, I would already be starting it, so I'd already get +1 d10, and let's say I attack this guy and move up. So now, let's say our little hero board is here, I've done those 2. I could then, let's say, move into the Horizontal Slash, which then I could attack 2 guys on the side, let's say, and move this way, 2 squares, because you do have to do the dashes, so I do have to move up 1 and have to do 2, but I get +2 to my roll with my d10s because of or I get the extra d10, sorry, additional d10s, so I'd get whatever, I get 2 additional d10s to attack with this Horizontal Slash because I'm working through my kata. Hope this makes sense, and I hope it's making sense. I really do. We do have 2 of these Drawing the Blade cards. He seems to have a lot of double cards. So now we've got another weird card here. This one is really going to be null and void in this set. Choose 1 hero and discard 1 card from your hand to remove the capture state. Well, we don't really have anything that's using the capture state, I don't think. Maybe something will. Now here's an interesting card. This one is called Annoyance. Now Annoyance says immediately begin the Darkness Cycle. Yeah, that's a good idea, right? No, it actually is. It says to reset the AP to 0. So if you did it right near the very end, when you're at like 4 darkness, and then you play this card, it would automatically trigger the darkness, set it to 0, and then target anything, attacks targeting heroes will gain +2. So they have to, it's too harder for them to hit our heroes. And also any of these interrupt cards we play during the Darkness Cycle will add +1 damage. And not only to him, to any of the heroes. So I think this will be a pretty good card. Now Bladed, here's another one that can be played during the darkness. It says move. After resolving an enemy attack, gain 2 movement points to spend immediately, and my next attack gains +1 damage. So again, if I play that card and then it gets back to us, and I go again with Vertical Cut, I mean here I'm doing 3 damage. I mean this guy is kind of a melee machine. So we do have the Swordsman Will, which also seems to be really good. It says if you receive any damage during the Darkness Cycle, then the next card you play costs 0 AP. I'm looking at a lot of these cards, and they're looking like they do take like 2 AP. I mean, he could trigger the Darkness Cycle on his own almost immediately. So then he does have Clean Blade. This one is really good too. It resets the kata, and you may reduce your threat by 3, so that's going to be good. And the outcome is decided. This one, I think, if I remember right, this one seems pretty fun. Minions within range, which is 6, must pass a courage test, or they cannot move this Darkness Cycle. If Announce was played this hero cycle, the card also affects captains. So that's going to be kind of fun, I think, if I can get both those. Now, I do have a Sheathed Sword, which will just reset the kata, but doesn't get rid of my threat. And then we have some movement cards, Hustle and Attack, and then we have one more, Drawing the Blade. Now, those are his basic cards. I do have, he also came with his Novice cards and his Journeyman cards. So we also have those too as well. Oh, and the game also came with, this also is from the Dark Frontier set. I might actually throw these into some of our guys. So they got the yellow symbol. I'll have to look into who gets to use the yellow symbol. If I remember right, the yellow symbol is kind of like promotional card or something that you can use at any point in your game, and every character got 1. I'm going to look into it to make sure that's true. If it's not, we're not going to use them. But if I can use these, I might put some of these into the deck of some of the characters just for fun to see what they do, because some of these are a little outrageous. Like, well, let's look at our characters we have. Actually, some of the ones are really good, like this one. The one for our Brian It says move, parry, ignore one enemy attack targeting you, and defeat one minion within range. In addition, gain 2 movement points to spend immediately. So he kills an enemy, he parries an attack, and he gets to move 2. That's not too bad for a card. So I might add some of these. We'll see how it goes. So now that's the pupil, or swordsman. I like to call him the swordsman. Pupil, whatever you want to decide to call him. So he's got his starting gear here. He also has the adventuring gear, which I'll pull out for him. But I think we are going to give him that short sword. I know it. He's able to gain 2 dash during dash attacks, and he has dash attacks, so it might be kind of fun to use it. He can actually move a little bit more. So we're going to replace his old sword with that. And other than that, that's really all we have for the swordsman. So I'm happy to have him with us. We're going to see how he works. And we're going to move on to starting a many-legged question. So there we go. I think that's going to do it for this video. The next video, I'm going to actually start the adventure. You're going to see that. I know this was kind of a long rules video again, but I really wanted to give you a big heads up on how about the swordsman. And I wanted to give you a disclaimer that I really haven't played a lot with him, and there's not a lot out there that is going to help with instructional videos on the swordsman. So we're going to play with the swordsman. We may mess up a little bit, and I do hope that I get some help from you guys if you think that I may have done something wrong. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the videos, and if you hit the little bell button or whatever on the side, you'll know when the next one's coming. You'll know when our next playthrough video and when the Act 2 actually is going to start. So, with the introduction of Alex, we have Brian, Ben, and we have Karen. Are you guys pumped for this adventure? I'm pumped for this adventure. Let's continue our journey through the world of myth. And if you're excited as I am, I hope you will meet me at the table.